Hi students, Logan Phillips here. Today's video is going to be covering Microsoft Excel Guided Project 1-3. So this is the Simnet environment. We're going to be working with Simnet Office 2016 and specifically the Microsoft Excel program. So let's go ahead and get started with a few basic pieces of information just in case you've forgotten them. One, my phone number is 918-595-7485. You can reach me at Logan.Phillips1 at tulsacc.edu, or of course you can come to my campus in Office A132 inside the Facet Center at the Northeast Campus. So let's go ahead and walk through the process of getting our document down, starting up the Microsoft Excel program, and completing that guided project 1-3. So the very first thing we want to do is open up into our Simnet dashboard. You can see here from our Simnet dashboard we have all of our projects and all of our documents that's here. They should be organized by due date or by file name, whatever your class instructor has chosen to do. Now I wanted to jump specifically to a project, so I'm going to go to the left hand side and I'm going to choose projects, and then I'm going to choose the Microsoft Excel Guided Project 1-3. So this is the very first guided project of the Microsoft Excel environment. Now with all the projects inside of Simnet, you're going to have 3 different downloads on the left hand side. Optional is the best practices. That's how to set up your computer and the best ways to do things. Then we're going to need one of the 2 required instruction files, and we're going to need the required start file, which it doesn't matter if you're using Mac or PC, the start file is the same for both of them. Though the instruction files are specialized, if you're using a PC, make sure you download the PC version. If you're using the Macintosh, make sure you download the Macintosh version. So let's go ahead and download our PC version because that is what I'm using, and I'm using Microsoft Excel 2016, and we're going to download our start files. Now the very first thing we should see is our name with the start file given, and our start file instructions are going to be in the form of a PDF. So if we open those up, we can see our instructions, and it's a step-by-step guide through. Now I'm working on a dual screen system, so my instructions will be to a screen you're not looking at, and the start file will be on the screen that you are looking at. I do strongly encourage you to print this off, keep it with you in hand so you can go through the process checking items off. So let's just go ahead and move that to my other screen. And then we're going to come down here and we're going to open up our start file. And I'm going to minimize out of Simnet real quick. Now as soon as you open it up, you're going to find a couple things instantaneously. First, at the very top it should say your name. If it doesn't, there might have been an issue and you may choose to re-download it. If it says someone else's name, there's a huge issue and you are using someone else's file. I would recommend against you using someone else's file because our systems can distinguish when you're using someone else's file, and if you do, that is considered cheating. It is plagiarism, and it can result in you getting an F in the class, an F in an assignment, or even getting removed from college. So be careful not to steal anyone else's or borrow anyone else's or utilize anyone else's work. First thing we need to do is switch it off of protected view into regular editing view. Now we do protected view because our viruses and those type of things can be installed in Office documents. So if you download a document from an untrusted source, it can infect your file. Hopefully you trust me. I am your professor. I wouldn't do anything intentionally mean to you. So let's go ahead and click that Enable Editing button. Now this is Guided Project 1-3, and we're going to be doing a variety of pieces here. If you want to know what those steps are, you can read the instruction file, and there's going to be a variety of skills covered inside this system as we work through it. So we're going to be working with opening and saving workbooks, changing the zoom size, we're going to be freezing panes, formatting labels and values. We're going to be using the fill handle, which is a quite handy feature to copy formulas down. We're going to be checking our spelling and our grammar and whatnot. We're going to apply some themes, some stylistic management styles and pieces there. We're going to merge and center our labels. We're also going to insert some columns, adjust some heights, rename some tabs, and change our layout views. All right, so as we go through this project, I'm going to be reading off the instructions, and I will tell you if I'm on step 1, step 1A, whatever step I am, I'll try to keep up with that. And then we'll be working through the document in real time, and I'll explain to you some things that are happening and why they're happening, why we're reading through this document. So step 1, we've already enabled the content because you trusted me as a professor, and you know that I'm not going to give you any viruses, and we've already saved it. Now I'm going to save it a second time by going up to my File menu. I'm going to go into Backstage View, and I'm going to choose to Save As. And I'm going to save this instead of in my downloads file, which is where it downloads automatically on a PC. Instead, I'm going to put it into my desktop. I'm going to leave my original one in my downloads file, but I'm going to put a new one, a second save, here on my desktop and work directly from it. Now, the reason I do this is because, one, it keeps a separate version of the document in my downloads. That way, if I screw up too bad, I can always revert back to it. And second, it puts it on the desktop where it's easy to manipulate and see and upload later when we're finished with the document. All right, so we're now on to step 2, and we're going to start removing and splitting and freezing some panes. So we're going to go ahead and click on that split button, which is in the View tab in the Windows grouping. So if we come up at the top, we have a ribbon up the top where we have a variety of different tabs: Home, Insert, Page Layout, Formulas, Data, Review, and View. Now, there are a few more ribbon tabs that can appear depending on what you click on, and there's a few more you can put in if you're using advanced features. So if you ever see a ribbon tab that I have that you don't, it might be an addition to that I've done to the Excel program, it might be an advanced feature, or it may be because of what I've clicked on. So don't be too concerned if you don't see exactly the same tabs, but these are the basic ones that exist. And inside each tab, you have a grouping. And then inside each grouping, there are different commands that are happening here. So we're inside the View tab, and we are inside the Split and the Window group. So let's find the Window group right here, you can see. And we're going to choose the View tab instead of, and click on Split. Okay, you can see how it split our values. So underneath our View tab, we're going to go here into the window, and right now you can see that our document is actually split. And so things move together, but we have these big gray bars across everything. So on the View tab, we're going to click on the Windows grouping, and we're going to hit the Split button, and we're going to get rid of that split view. Now with that done on step 2A, we're going to go into step 2B. We're going to click on A4. Now I'm going to jump to A4 very quickly by using the address bar. And so you can see I typed in A4, it brought me directly to cell column A, cell 4, or row 4. And so we have WE001. And with WE001 selected, or A4, we are going to freeze the columns and titles at this position. So we're going to click on the Freeze Panes button on the View tab, Windows group. So we're going up here to our View tab in our Windows group, and we're going to choose to Freeze Panes. Now here we have a few different views that we can do on this freeze panes. We have freeze panes, freeze top row, or freeze the first column. This is really helpful when you're dealing with data that goes on from page after page, but you want your titles to stay where they are. So we're going to freeze the panes, and let's go ahead and freeze pane. There we go. Now what you can see here with the freeze panes is A4 selected, it froze directly above it. So as we're dropping down, our product ID, products and stuff stay exactly where they are. So no matter what our data is, we can actually scroll through it but keeping our titles. So that was step 2D. We're now going to scroll to row 34 and select on E31. So let's go to E column, and we're going to choose E31. And so that we have a number of 0 here. We're going to type in the number 3 and push enter. And then we're going to hit control buttons on our keyboard, and we're going to hit control and our home button. And that brings us back to cell A4. So cell A4 is now our first cell inside of our data series. So let's go on to step 3. We're going to change the zoom size and unfreeze this pane. Now what you'll find a lot of these how-to or projects is going through steps and undoing steps. We do that so that you know what's there and how to do and undo items. So on step number 3, we're going to change the zoom size first. So in the bottom right corner of the screen, you can actually see that we are in zoom of 120% right now. And so we're going to change the zoom size down to a 100%. So I'm going to hit my negative button on the left-hand side, and I'm going to drop this down to 100%. Then we're going to click on the Freeze button on the View tab in the Windows grouping, and we're going to choose to unfreeze these panes. And as you can see now, if I hit Control Home, instead of taking me to A4, it actually takes me all the way to A1. Now we've completed step 3D. We're now on step 4, and we're going to check the spelling in this workbook. Now, Excel is a little unique compared to like Microsoft Word when it comes to spelling and grammar, because inside data series, accounting, there's always specially named items, and so it will not automatically tell you you've misspelled something, because more than likely it's an acronym or a shortened version of a word specific to accounting or financial or mathematical equations, and so it's hard to get spelling correct. So we're going to select on cells B4 through B11. Now I'm going to select first on cell B4. And we're going to go through here, and I'm going to do my shift button, and I'm going to select on cell B11. I think it was B4 through B11, yep. And we're going to go into our review tab, and we're going to choose on the proofing group the spelling button. And so we see here we have hiking, which if you're from Oklahoma is probably the correct way to say it here, and hiking. So let's go ahead and change this from hiking to hiking. And we're going to do a change all. And so, yep, we're good to go. That we have done step 4, we are now on to step 5. So in step 5, we're going to use a fill handle to copy down a formula. Now this is incredibly useful when you're duplicating a formula through multiple rows and you don't want to have to type the formula in over and over and over again. So we're going to click on cell H4. Now again, I'm going to use the address bar to jump straight to it. So H4. You can see here we have a formula for the value, which is cell E4 multiplied by cell G4. In the bottom right hand corner of this, I have a green square that if I put my mouse on it, actually changes to a black T. And so we're going to select in the bottom right hand corner, and we are going to copy this formula down. So let's select on cell H4 the fill handle. We're going to double click on that with our left mouse button. We're going to use our left mouse button directly on the green button, double click. And you can see that it automatically copied it down to the very end of my data series. And you can see E4 times G4 became E5 times G5, E6 times G6. So not only did it copy it down, but it changed the reference points to one directly below with each copy down. And next we're going to hit Control and 8, or Control and Home, I'm sorry. And we're going to go back to our cell A1. And we are now on to step, let's see, that's step 5. We are now into step 6. So we're going to start modifying how this particular document looks next. So we're going to go ahead and click on the Themes button, which is in the Page Layout tab. So we have on our tabs at top, Page Layout, and we're going to choose onto our Themes tab. And see, we have a themes grouping at the bottom, our left-hand side, and we're going to choose the Ion theme from Gallery. So we have our themes, we have a radio button on the bottom, and now these will be organized in one of two ways. One, they'll be organized alphabetically, but if you've used a theme recently, the theme that you most recently used oftentimes will come up to the very first row of the items. So if you use themes often, they will appear sometimes up top, otherwise they will be in alphabetical order. Now I want you to notice that as I scroll through these themes and change my mouse on top of them, it actually changes the way the data looks. So you can preview the themes. Now we're going to choose the theme of Ion, and we're going to click on it with our left mouse button. Now you can see that modified the theme, it modified the font, it modified the size, it modified my coloring, and my colors now have modified to that specific theme. And so we're going to go on to step 7 now. In step 7, we're going to continue with modifying how things look, and we're going to merge and center some tiles. So let's go ahead and select cells A1 through J1. So I'm going to hit Control and H to make sure I'm at cell A1. I'm going to hit my Shift button and my right arrow, and I'm going to go over to H1. Not H1, J1. There we go, 2 more. Now in my Home tab, I'm going to hit the Merge and Center button, which is in the Home tab, Alignment Grouping, and we have Merge and Center. Now after we merge and center, we're going to merge all the cells of A2 through J2 next. So we're going to select cell A2. I'll use my Shift button and my right arrow. And I'm going to move over to J2, and I'm going to hit that Merge and Center button on the Home tab in the Alignment Grouping again. So we have our titles of Wherever Shoes and Current Stock merged and centered in the middle. That was step 7B. We are now on to step 8, and we're going to apply some cell styles and adjust our row heights. And so let's go ahead and select cell A1. Again, you can jump to A1 by either going to your address bar or by hitting Control and Home. And with cell A1 selected, we're going to select the Cell Styles button, which is in the More button on the Home group, or in the Home tab in the Styles group. So we have the Home tab, we have Styles group, and we're going to choose the bottom right-hand drop-down, and we have these Custom Cell Styles. And in the Custom Cell Styles, we're going to choose the title. So let's find title here. We got normal, we have output, data. You can see here, right there is title. It's underneath titles and headings. And if you cover your mouse over it and let it sit there for a second, it will actually pop up with the word title. So we're going to click on title. Then we'll select cell A2, and I'm going to use my left mouse button to click on cell A2. We're going to come back into our styles grouping. We're going to do our more button, our radio button down, and we're going to choose a heading 4. So we have heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, and heading 4. Next, we're going to click on the font size arrow, which is on the Home tab group, and we're going to select 14-point font. So Home style or Home tab, font styles group, and from 11, we're going to choose a 14. Next, we're going to select the rows, headings 1 and 2. Okay, our next step is we're going to select row headings of 1 and row heading of 2. Now, I'm going to hit my control button when I'm clicking on these to choose both of them at the same time. Because they're in an order or next to each other, you could also hit your shift button and left mouse click, or you could have just dragged between the two of them. Now with both those selected, we're going to modify how high the rows themselves are. So we're going to come up here onto a format or our cells grouping. We're going to choose format, and we're going to change this to a row height. And we're going to change the row height from where it's at, and we're going to change it to a 14 point. So let's go ahead and hit OK. I'm sorry, we're going to change that to a 22 point. So let's go format, row height, and from a 14, we're going to change that to 22. So we got just a little bit bigger than our regular rows. And that was step 8F. And so next we're going to select cells A3 through J3. So A3, again, I'm going to use my shift button and my right arrow through J3. And we're going to modify these from the cell styles group. So we're going to go back to our home tab. We have our cell styles and group. We have our more button. And we're going to choose to make these a 40% accent 3. So we have 40% accent 3. And we're going to choose what color? It looks like light yellow to me. So we have 40% accent 3. There we go. That is a yellow in color. Then we're going to choose to apply the bold, which is on the home tab, font grouping bold. And we're going to click on row 3 headers, and we're going to click the row 3 headings. Next, we're going to click on the row 3 heading, which is on the left-hand side. We got the row 3. And we're going to go right between where it meets row 3 to row 4. We're going to left click and hold our mouse, and we're going to expand this out to 21 or 28 pixels. So get just right where it says 21, 28 pixels, and release your left mouse button. And let's go down to step 8M at this point. We're going to click the zoom out button on the status bar so that you can see all rows. So if you're zoomed in too far and you can't see all these rows, you're going to need to zoom these out a little bit so you can. Now it's a little hard for you to see because my screen's so big, but that's where we're looking at. We want to be able to see all the rows in the data table. Next, we're going to change the alignment, format values, apply borders, and increase some indents. So let's go ahead and select cells D4 through F39. So we're going to actually choose our data at this point. D4 through F39. F39. So we go down here. I'm going to hit Shift, left mouse click, and I've selected D4 through F39. Next, we're going to center the button. So let's go Home tab in our alignment grouping, and we're going to choose a center. And then we're going to select cells G4 through H39. So G4 through H39. Again, I hit my shift button and my left mouse click. And we're going to click on the accounting number format button. So in our home tab, in our number grouping, we're going to choose to make this into an accounting format. We're going to select cells A3, so A3 through J39, J39. And we're going to click on the borders. So home tab, font grouping, borders group, or borders radio button, and we're going to choose to do all borders. Then we're going to do the font size drop down arrow and choose a 12 point font. So home tab, font grouping, we're going to go from 11 up to a 12. Next we're on step 9H. We're going to select cells B4 through C39. So B4 through C39. Again, left click with a shift hit button held, and we are going to click the increase indent button, which is on the home tab alignment group. So home tab alignment group, and we have two buttons here. We have decrease indent and increase indent. So we're just going to move them off to the side a little bit. And then we're going to click and drag and select columns A through J. So column A all the way through column J. We're now on step 9J. And so with A through J selected, we're going to double click the border between columns J and column K to auto fit. So right now, with these selected, we are going to come in between J and K where my mouse turns to the two arrows with the black line, and we're going to double left click our mouse, and this auto fits to the content within inside the columns, the biggest content that exists inside. Then we're going to select and center and line the labels in row 3. So let's select on row 3. And we're going to come up here into our home tab and our alignment, and we're going to choose to center those. All right, and it looks like we are now on to step 10. And with step 10 selected, we're going to insert a column and to fill some data. So let's go ahead and right click on column heading B. So we're going to come up to the top, column heading B. We're going to right click right next to the B, and we're going to choose to insert. And we're going to be now into cell B3. You can see I have a new column B. In B3, I'm going to type disk question mark. Let's see if we can find my question mark there. And then we're going to go through, hit enter, and we're going to start typing some information. No, no, yes, and hitting enter as we go through each one of those. Then we're going to select cells B4 through B6 and increase the indent twice. B4 through B6 and double the indent. So home tab, alignment grouping, increase indent once, twice. So it's not really centered, it's just moved indented from the left hand side 2 times. Next we're going to select B4 through B6 and double click the fill pointer in the bottom right hand corner. So if we go to the bottom right hand corner, we can have our mouse on top of it. It'll turn to a black T. We're going to double click this, and it's going to duplicate all of our information down exactly as it shows. We're going to select cells A4 through A39. Next, A4 through A39. I use my shift button and left mouse click, and we're going to increase the indent 1 time. So home tab, alignment grouping, increase indent. Next, we're going to hit our control and home, which will bring us back to A1. See, back to our wherever shoes, and we're going to go on to step 11. So after we've gone to our home tab, or our home button, which is A1, we are now going to rename this sheet tab, which is in the bottom left hand corner. You can see where it says sheet 1. We're going to double click where it says sheet 1, and we're going to type in the word inventory. And we're going to push enter. Now make sure you spell things correctly, because if you spell it incorrectly, it will count you wrong on grading. All right, we have completed step 11, and we're going to go to step 12. We're going to use the page layout view to insert a footer. And so we're going to click on the page layout tab, top button on the ribbon, page layout, and we're going to go into the on the bottom right corner, we're going to modify our views here for step 12. So right now we're in normal view, and we're going to switch over from normal view to page layout view. And so this is how things would look when we print them off, and you can add a header and we can add a footer. So on the page layout view, we're going to click on the center header section, and doing the header, so center of the header section, and we're going to choose to insert a header, and we're going to insert a header of, no, let's see, it's reading, this instruction is reading a little poorly. So click on the header section, header and center tools is active, and we're going to click on the header and footer tools, and we're going to choose to go to footer. Alright, so let's go ahead and go to footer. So we're on the design tab of the header and footer tools. We're going to choose to go to footer, and we're going to insert a footer, and we're going to choose the middle section, and we're going to put in the file name. So let's go ahead, footer, and we're going to choose to put in the file name. So underneath the header and footer elements, file name. Now once this is in, and it should say at open bracket file close bracket, if we click on an empty cell or any cell inside the actual document, you can see that the footer is now the exact file name that matches up to the very top. So let's go ahead and hit our control home, go back to cell A1, and we're going to change the page setup options in step 13. So we're going to click on the page layout tab, top left page layout, and we're going to choose the page setup launcher. So let's go ahead and go into the page setup launcher, which is a dialog box launcher, which is in the page layout tab on the page setup grouping in the bottom right corner, the page setup dialog box launcher. So here we can see we can modify a lot of the organization and the layout of our actual document. We're going to choose to switch it from portrait, which is up and down, to landscape, which is left and right. If I can keep from hitting my microphone there. All right, and we're going to choose to fit to radio button and in our one page by one page. So one page by one page radio button on the scaling side, and we're going to hit OK. So we made it a landscape, and we made all of our document to fit into one page. Next, we're going to set the print area. We're going to select cells A1 through K11, so A1 through K11, right there. I use my shift button and my left mouse click. We're going to click on the print area button, which is the page setup group, and we're going to hit print area. We're going to choose to set print area. Then hit our control and home button, and go to the File tab and select Print to preview what this is going to look at. So we went to our backstage view here by File. We can come down to Print, and we can now see that we're only printing those 11 documents or 11 items right here. Next, we're going to click on the Save button in the backstage view. So we save our document and we're ready to upload. So let's go ahead and close this out and upload it to Simnet and see what our grade is and how we did. So let's go ahead and open up back Simnet dashboard. I'm going to choose to upload my file. Now I'm working on the one that's inside my, here we go, Logan Phillips Wherever Shoes 01. It's on my desktop. And once I'm ready, now remember that this works as a cloud storage device. You can say, no, I'm not ready to submit it for grading. I can just store it here and work on it later, or I can say, yes, I'm ready to submit for grading. Now, if I did everything right, we'll have 100%, but if I did something wrong, I'll show you how to modify, edit, and fix it. So let's go ahead and yes, and submit file. And right now it is currently grading it. And it looks like we got 100%. So if you follow along, you could have done 100% there. Once you upload the document, it will tell you what you've gotten correct. It will also tell you anything you did partially correct, and will tell you anything you did incorrect. If you did something wrong, just re-download your submitted file, keep this open, fix the issues, and then re-upload the assignment by clicking on the Excel Guided 1. Now, once you've done that, you can come back to your front, and it will tell you how many times you've attempted it, when you attempted it, and your score. All right, guys, that is Microsoft Excel Guided Project 1-3. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, let me know. I'm here to help. You can reach me at 918-595-7485. Give me an email at logan.phillips1@tulsacc.edu, or come to my office at A132 at the Northeast Campus TCC Facet Center.